So, you've inherited a self-managed super fund. You're probably asking yourself, now what? Even though you may have been a member of the fund, generally what we see is that there's two members in the super fund, husband and wife. Husband passes away, husband was the driving force behind the fund, wife is now the sole member and trustee of the fund. There's nothing inherently wrong with that, but where I have seen a few issues is when the person who has inherited the fund had nothing to do with it. I want to talk through that a little bit today and just unpack some of your options around how to tackle that into the future. Generally speaking, a self-managed super fund can have up to 6 members in a fund. Most have 2. When one of them passes away, it becomes a very complicated matter of what to do with it next. And this leads us down a really deep rabbit hole around what are the investments within the self-managed super fund, what's their specific nature, what do they cost, what are they return. But the key factor here, in my experience of helping people, particularly widows, navigate this, is you just may not know the advisors that were helping your husband with the super fund. Quite often, and this is a very generalised sort of perspective, the husband organised everything with the accountant, they signed off on all the papers, they signed off on all the strategies, they bought the investments, they managed it, and then they gave their other member, their other trustee, their wife, the paperwork to sign. They signed it, it was dutifully sent back to the accountant and was processed. Now that that driving force is no longer on the scene, the survivor needs to navigate that process with an accountant they may not know. They then need to rely on that accountant to be able to communicate the specifics of the fund properly. This is a very difficult situation. So if you're finding yourself in that position, if you're finding yourself in that situation, the first thing to do is to have a meeting with all of the advisors connected to that fund in the one room. Get them to lay out the purpose of the fund, get them to lay out the rationale behind the decisions and the current status of the account. You can then start deciding whether or not you want to keep the fund. Often people will get rid of the fund, but often it's in their interest to keep it. This is the point where those advisors should be helping you feel comfortable around your decision. Now, if, as I alluded to earlier, you don't know those people, you may be looking to find your own advisor. That's a different matter. Definitely recommend it if you're not comfortable with the people you're currently working with. You'll then decide whether or not you want to keep the fund. If you decide to not keep the fund, you'll need to start winding it up, which is a very structured, technical, drawn-out process, but it's very clear the steps you need to follow. Or you may decide you want to keep the fund and make some amendments. Either way, you will need to start making some decisions around the account, and that can be really difficult when you've never done that before and you're dealing with people you don't really know. So if you do find yourself in that situation or you find yourself stuck, give us a call. We can more easily help you and guide you with your next steps, or just give you some referrals to some people you might like to talk to, or help you design the questions you want to ask your current advisors. It's a really big topic. It's a really difficult topic, I think, self-managed super funds. So if you're feeling a bit unsure about it, you're not alone. Reach out. We can help where we can.